Hey everybody, this is my barber, Dorian Purnell, the best barber in the area. Glad to have him talk about his prostate cancer journey at the end of Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Dorian, you want to say something to introduce yourself real quick?
Like I said, I'm Dorian Purnell. I've been a barber, master barber for 15 years. Very passionate about making people feel good, look good. And I know the importance of barbering is to get any type of awareness out that we can, because us being men, you're in my chair, that's the perfect opportunity to speak all types of positivity into each other's lives. So,
Well, that's the thing that, normally you are the counselor, you're the person that's like helping people feel good, look good, and be the best form of themselves. And so how does it feel when now you are the person that's, facing the issue and kind of needs some help? So how did that feel when you kind of realized that you had a health challenge?
well, being that, and a lot of barbers can speak on this, that this is what we love to do. So going through our hardest times, this helps us get through it. And we always got to wear the Superman cape. So even if we are going through things, we still got to put on the face, because me helping somebody else can also help me. That's how I look at it. So with me going through my battle with prostate cancer, yeah, it was a challenge when I was alone, when I was to myself, riding home, things like that. But when I was in the barbershop, it helped me get through it. So it gave me something to look forward to, as it always does. So I just looked at it as another challenge that I had to overcome, because I know so many people rely on me to be that source of inspiration for them.
That makes a lot of sense that you put it that way. Can you talk a little bit about like how did you even know that like something was wrong? Like was it a checkup or you felt something, or how did you even get to the space where you knew that you had a prostate cancer diagnosis?
So back in 2014, my father had prostate cancer, and I had been getting checked ever since then. And I know it's a lot of times it's hereditary, but it was through routine checkups. I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have any signs saying that, hey, I need to get my prostate checked. It was literally routine checkups every month, every year. And by the blood work that I was getting, they were seeing a slow increase in my numbers. In 2023, that's when my doctor was just like, hey, let's see why your numbers are increasing. And my numbers didn't increase to a bad number. It was only up to a number 3. And he just wanted to know why my numbers were increasing. And we went from there. And then I had to make a decision on, he wanted me to get an MRI. I've had a number of MRIs done before, but for some reason, when I went to go get my MRI, I felt claustrophobic. So they said that being I couldn't get the MRI, I had to get a biopsy. So I was cool with that, because I just wanted to see what was going on. Got the biopsy, and it showed that I had prostate cancer in 3 spots on my prostate. Now, the ironic thing is, if I had got the MRI wouldn't have shown what the biopsy shown.
Oh, wow.
So that was a blessing in disguise, for me to not to get the MRI, because you just never know how far it would have took.
So, like, what is the initial feeling that you have when you get this diagnosis? Was it because, your numbers were going up over time? Was it more gradual, or did it all hit you at once that, hey, I have prostate cancer?
So being that my numbers were increasing, they never had brought any, the doctors didn't really didn't look worried. They were just like, okay, this is a gradual increase, because you figure it was almost 10 years from when I got my first exam, and I've been getting them every year.
Okay.
So it went from, I can't remember what my first numbers were, but I'm assuming it was like 0 point something.
Mhm.
Gradually it would get up to 1 point something over a couple years. And when it got up to a 3, they just wanted to make sure that it wasn't that. And they kept reassuring me like, hey, if it is, we're not saying it is cancer, but if it is, we got it early enough, things like that. But the day that I found out that I had it, I had an interview with Torrey Smith, the wide receiver he was playing with the Ravens. I had an interview that same day. I found out 20 minutes before that interview. And,
Oh, wow.
Once I found out, and I had to wipe it out of my mind for that, because I couldn't show it on camera. And when I went home that night, it hit me. Like, you hear cancer and you think the worst. Like, no matter how much they say, oh, it's curable, this and the third, it was to the point where it was like, I got to get this out of my body. So mentally, it was like, all right, I got to do what I got to do to make sure, that it doesn't get any worse or anything like that. But the most confusing part is that you have no symptoms. 9 times out of 10, you won't have any symptoms. It's just getting routine checkups that is the key for all of this.
Can you talk about like the history of your checkups as far as like, I know that they don't even do the rectal examination. Well, they still do them, but they're not as common as they used to be. And they're going more to blood tests and things like that. Is that pretty much what your experience was?
Yeah, rectal exams all the way up until, well, they were doing rectal exams, but they were telling me then that the rectal exam was just showing if it was an enlarged prostate.
Exactly.
That's all the rectal exam is going to show you if it's enlarged, because they can physically feel if it's enlarged.
Right.
The blood work is going to tell you if it's cancerous. So I try to tell people all the time, like, get that 4-second fear out of your mind, of getting a rectal exam, because that can save your life. And it's all done through blood work now. Everything is just like everything else. Everything evolves. And when my father had it, I'm not sure what his numbers were, but he was just getting a random checkup. He didn't have any symptoms, but he didn't have to have surgery. He had just radiation.
And the good news is your father's still trucking along too. So
Yes,
hopefully
sir.
that gave you hope.
Yeah.
That, just like when we see women with breast cancer and we see survivors, that's a little bit of inspiration as well. So
my mother had breast cancer.
And so, that's a good segue too. So you've been dealing with cancer in your family. So I don't know if that gave you kind of an assurance that you kind of knew how to handle this, or were you afraid, like, cancer again?
It helps because it wasn't foreign to me. So my mother had breast cancer twice. My grandmother, dad's mother, she passed from, I think she had colon cancer. Of course, my dad had prostate cancer, and I had it basically twice. So.
And I'm gonna stick a pin in that, because I think that's a good part of the story that we want to go back to, and that you had this challenge twice. You think, okay, I fought this battle and it's over with, and then they come back to you and it'd be like, nah, but we'll stick a pin in that for now. But tell me about how, once you got your diagnosis, who in your family did you tell, and how long did you take to tell them? And then how did they take it?
I was very, very secretive. Of course, told my wife, talked to her. She was actually working at a urology office. Told my brother. I didn't tell my father at all, because of some of the fact I didn't want him to worry, but I kept it tight. Told a couple of my clients about it, because you got to get it off your chest.
Right.
Because if not, you'll explode. And I couldn't carry that burden around where people are wondering, like, hey, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, I just had to, got to share it with somebody. But, I did also realize that going through this can bring you closer to, bring relationships closer, because you're at a vulnerable state. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to help get through this thing with any type of support that you can find. But the scary part is, as men, we're taught to be tough.
Yep.
We're taught to be, that, it don't bother me, I can handle it. Nah, at the end of the day, you're human. And if you don't have the right support system, it can be rough. And that's when you have to dig deep sometime, look in the mirror, and reevaluate your life and just get things in order. You know what I mean? So the first time I got it, the surgery, they had my prostate removed. And after the surgery, you got to come through for your 3-month checkups. Every 3 months, you got to get the numbers tested again, blood work. And it was close to a year after me getting my test that my numbers were going back up. It wasn't showing like it was non-existent. That's when they declared it back. But what I had was called a biochemical reoccurrence, where the prostate was at in my system, or where the prostate is located. When they removed it, there was remnants left from where they removed it, and it just started reactivating again. But it wasn't like it was aggressive or anything. They just seen it once again on checkup after my surgery, just following the doctor's orders. I had the second form of treatment I had to have was radiation. I had to do 30 treatments of radiation and hormone shots. I had to do 6 months of hormone treatment.
Talk about, because I think a lot of times when we talk about any medical treatment, you hear all the side effects, right? Like if you see any drug ad on TV, they always talk about, well, this is going to help you with this problem, but here are all the side effects. Can you talk about the pros and the cons? Like, here's the good news when you're going through this treatment. Obviously, like you said, the prostate cancer is not going to be what takes you out of here. But can you talk about the pros and cons? Like, here's the good news and here's the bad news.
All right. The good news is, once it's out of you, it's out of you. Unless it's aggressive or whatever, Lord forbid. But once it's out of you, you don't have to worry about prostate cancer anymore. Now, the cons of it, and this is just being transparent, as men, what makes us men is pretty much gone. And what I mean is, yeah, you still have our physical appearance of things. Capabilities are gone temporarily. It's very important that you have a good relationship with your doctor, because they can explain, or you can ask them to, well, how can I get back to normal as possible? Now, you're going to go through the whole erectile dysfunction thing. You're going to go through the not being able to hold your urine at the beginning. At the end of the surgery, or right after the surgery, you're gonna have to get a catheter in. You got to keep the catheter in for 10 days. That's the worst part of this whole process. But if you look at the end of the road, you can look back at it and be like, okay, I'm glad I went through that. That's the big inconvenience of everything. That's what a lot of people don't realize, what the prostate controls and what the prostate is there for. And I think that once men realize and get past the negatives of it, they can really start to focus on what's real. Like, okay, I may not be able to do certain things, or it may have you feeling a certain way because you can't perform like you once could. Okay, at that point, you got to realize what's more important, you know. And then that's all. And that goes back to the support. You know, men may not have in their corner someone to help them out with those things that they need. It can be scary because as men, we're private. You know, we don't want to be in a vulnerable state where you got to have a catheter hanging out of you for a week after it's done, and you know, it's just those little things that we gotta get over ourselves with and realize what the big picture is. You know, you're just trying to live life and be good for the next person that you're dealing with, and then realizing that you're going through this journey not for you, you're going through this journey for somebody else.
That's a good point. What would you recommend if you were doing it all over again and you were in your position of what a man did? Like, hey, like as soon as you get the diagnosis, here's what you should do. As soon as you're done with the treatment, here's what you should do. And this is how you should maybe approach your wife, your girlfriend, or whatever to kind of set her up for what you're about to go through. And this is how you keep your relationship strong. And this is how you get back to normal. So would you give some insight on that?
Yeah. So first of all, being transparent about from going to the doctor, not being afraid, getting that scaredness out of us, and just saying, hey, I just got to buckle down and do this, and take your partner with you and have everything explained to them. Because if your partner is not mature enough, things can happen.
Right.
So, but, you know, if someone listened to this and they found out that they just been diagnosed, literally just take it in, you know, don't look at the negative because you can beat it. As long as they find it, it can be beaten. That's the main thing. And the earlier, the better. You know, the case of it returning with me, that's a rare case. That don't happen with every case. But my doctor did inform me all my possibilities of what could happen if this, or imagine if I didn't follow up. If I just had the surgery, had my prostate removed, and said, okay, I'm not going back to the doctor because my cancer's out. If I didn't follow up like he asked me to every 3 months, I would have never realized that my cancer came back. And it's just about being diligent, man, and just if you got kids, let that be your why. You know, if you got family members that rely on you, that be your why. But you got to set an example. And I realized after going through both of my battles, it was for me to be able to inform other men because of what I do every day. I'm a barber. I got great clients. I can talk to them. I can be open with them. Hey, go get checked, you know, and I can let them know from an experience. I've been through this, you know, I can coach somebody through it. So I just live in a spiritual realm where it's like, you know, what's for me is for me, but I can't just be selfish and say, oh, and have that negative output saying, oh, I can't believe this happened to me and things like that. Yeah, we're natural. We're going to feel that way, but he gives it to you for a reason.
Yeah, you know, like I just thought of something because not doing anything about it, there's really no good outcome from it. Yeah, there's no positive from it. There's no positive in waiting. You know, the earlier you detect it, the more options you have. But waiting or untreating it, you're still not going to be able to perform because you're going to be in a box.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So it's no way out, pretty much. So you might as well just do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
So.
And don't let the ages. Oh, don't get checked until whatever. Nah, I was 30. I started getting checked when I was 37, and they usually say don't get checked until you're 40 or whatever. I found out I had cancer when I was 46. So, and which was incredibly young to get prostate cancer in the doctor's eyes, because that's what made them so confident that everything was going to be okay, because I could still handle all the treatments that were given to me without having to worry about, you know, my age or my body rejecting a lot of stuff.
Because normally the face of prostate cancer used to be old men, right? It used to be old black men, 70, 80 years old. You know,
and a lot of people didn't know they had it until they died.
Yeah.
you know?
I've heard of that too. You might have died of something else. You might have had a heart attack, but then you go to
You go to the
autopsy.
autopsy, oh, he had cancer too.
Yeah. So that's another thing too. Or, we hear these stories of, I know even in my family, you hear stories of like people's fathers and grandfathers passing away and, oh, they had cancer, but they never really tell you exactly what kind of cancer it was. And it was kind of slow growing. And then they end up not being here anymore.
And my thing that I would tell people is, okay, you got to know your family tree, know the men in your family, what they went through. That's very important because a lot of these things are in us that we can't control. It's hereditary. So you could be the most healthiest, strongest looking man on the outside, but on the inside, who knows what's going on? So it's important to know what your family dynamics are, what you're comprised of, because if not, that could be another thing as well. Because it's not just blood pressure and diabetes. This is real. This prostate cancer stuff is real. And I've always and I just recently over the last year, this mindset of saying, I want to help everybody I can to get through this, or just to make them aware of it. Because everybody asked me, the first thing they asked me, what symptoms did I have? I had no symptoms at all.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
Urinating fine, erections fine, had no issue, none. But
And that's one thing is, when I have conversations with brothers about their health, and they're afraid of, modern medicine or Western medicine or the white people's medicine and that kind of stuff. Just tell them, like, ignoring it and doing it another way. Like, there wasn't any better results. Like, so now you have Black men that are living that otherwise in past generations, even in our parents' generation, grandparents' generation, would not have been here.
right.
So, what I try to do in my platform is talk about getting access so people can get this stuff so they can live. I don't think that it's the treatments that harm you. I think it's the lack of people going to get treatment.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
People get the oil change when nothing's wrong with their car.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't wait till the engine.
You don't wait till the engine blow up to go get your engine fixed. You do things to prevent those things from happening. So,
well, man, this was such a thorough conversation.
Yeah. And it can go on for hours and hours and hours, and it's not gonna stop here.
And maybe this isn't even the last conversation we had about this, because I'm sure people have questions and things like that. Because I think a lot of times, like you said, we're so private and we're scared. We're afraid to ask somebody, like, "Hey, you had it. What happened? And hey, how did you tell your wife?
Right.
Right. Or how'd your wife react to it or whatever? I think that's probably a time where you learn how to get real creative.
Yeah, really. But like I said, it takes maturity too.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes maturity too.
Because that's not something we talk about out loud either. Like, hey, if I'm not working downstairs, how do I still please my wife?
Exactly.
How do I still?
And that's how I say it can make relationships stronger. So you got to start connected from the neck up.
Yep.
At that point, you know what I mean?
A lot of times, with women that I talk to, that's what they're looking for anyway. Anybody can stick them, but it's all the other things around it that they look for.
They're not connected.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they're not connected at all.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely gonna, if anybody got any questions, I am open. Like,
I'm gonna make sure, of course, I tag you in the video and make sure people know where to find you and everything. Anyway, just because you the dopest stylist in the area anyway, so I want to make sure that people know about that.
Yeah.
But man, this is just a very important conversation that we need to have.
And the thing is,
help somebody.
Even though we know prostate cancer is in September, people find out they got prostate cancer all year long.
That's true.
So it don't have to stop in September, So
that's true.
Imagine how many people found out today that they have it,
You know what? That's very important. Somebody today found out they was diagnosed, and especially with Black men, we're disproportionately affected. So
Yep.
So hopefully this helps somebody, man.
Yeah.
We'll see. But hey, everybody that's watching this video, like I said in the intro, please share it. If you shared nothing else of mine before, please share this video with your loved ones, your brothers, your uncles, your dads, your husbands, because this is an important conversation that we need to have. And, it's not just about looking good because he makes me look good. It's also about feeling good.
Yep.
And, you want to be here for a lot more birthdays, weddings, graduations, and all those things. And take care of your health is how you do that.
And talk to your barbers. Phil, and your barber may not know.
Yep.
Share this with your barber, because I want all the barbers to be able to talk to their clients about it. Get some info to share with their clients. If the barbers don't know, barbers reach out to me. We can talk about it. That way, you can set up forums in your shop so that men can feel comfortable. Because this is one spot where men feel comfortable with congregating. We talk about all the other drama. Let's talk about making ourselves better.
We do. We do. If I can give you prostate cancer, if I can say you go to the doctor too.
Right.
So thanks again, man.
Yes, sir.
Everybody that tuned in, we appreciate it.